Welcome to Live with Miami's Community News, South Florida's #1 source for local stories. I'm Michael Miller, bringing people together and sharing the voices, events, and connections that shape our community.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
That'd be true.
Coke here, get your Coke here.
I'm all in to be the Miami-Dade County mayor.
That event. Tell everybody about it.
What is next? What do we have to do?
2, 1.
Thank you for joining us. It is my honor to be with Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniella Levine Cava. Thank you very much for being here, Mayor.
Love to be with you, Michael, always.
So you've had a pretty rough couple months here.
Yes, true.
So we're going to talk a lot about the budget and some other things. The big question people ask me, why did she come and tell us there was a $400 million deficit instead of just doing those things so there wouldn't have been? And so I said, I don't know. I'm going to ask her.
Oh, whoa. Well, we get a certain amount of money every year that we can spend. It's really the general fund. So we have airport, seaport, libraries, fire, water and sewer and solid waste. They're all separate because they have their own source of funding. But it's the general fund, which is mostly the property tax revenue, but also state dollars that were decreased this year because we had to share it for the first time with these 5 constitutional offices. So looking ahead, we knew the money was going to have to stretch farther and we were going to be $400 million short. It was never a deficit because we don't have deficit spending. We can only spend what we have. It was a shortfall. And that's what we had July 15th when we submitted the budget.
So you wanted people to know this is what's facing us.
You have to tell the truth. This is the money that we have.
But could you have made those changes?
We came in with a balanced budget on July 15th that was $400 million less in general fund. And we told the people through 20 public town halls, numerous other ways that we communicated, unprecedented amount of public involvement. Starting in May, we told them we're squeezed $400 million. And this is how we are approaching it because we have no choice. So then what happened? The constitutional offices by law, and remember 3 of them are brand new, they can't have carryover. So they had a budget that they couldn't spend in this last fiscal year. They didn't have to tell us and didn't tell us by July 15th. In August, the information starts to trickle in, so we're able to revise the budget. The tax collector didn't even have to tell us until well into this next fiscal year that we're in now. But fortunately, he anticipated, he knew he couldn't spend all of the 2% that he was collecting off the top. So he let us know, and we were able to plug in some more money. And that is how we didn't actually add back $400 million. We had covered the $400 million in cuts, but we were able to restore some of the nonprofits and the arts groups and restore some of parks programming that we were going to cut. So there were different things that as these constitutionals told us and as we were able to reap some savings that we were able to plug things back in.
So I know not-for-profits are dear to you.
Yes,
cultural
of course.
affairs.
Yes.
And we talk with a lot of the not-for-profits. What advice and suggestions can you make for them looking forward to next year and the year after?
Yeah. So, Michael, people might not know that I am a nonprofit guru, really.
I know.
Okay. And I've run numerous nonprofits. I've started nonprofits. Nonprofits are my heart. And this was particularly painful. Even organizations that I had founded were on the cut list. You understand?
Yes.
Of course, I can't. There's no favorites here. We had to cut $400 million to have a balanced budget in July. And then we got additional dollars and we were able to restore. So it was extremely painful for me personally, but I'm also a nonprofit capacity building expert. My former nonprofit, Catalyst Miami, originally Human Services Coalition, always focused on building coalitions, working together to find ways of sharing expenses and building revenue and building capacity. So I actually built that into county government as well, capacity building. So this was always my heart. Then here we are. This is not a sustainable fix. And we've made it clear to everybody. The commission has accepted on first reading to charge more to those who are going to be getting contracts with the county, an amount that could be set aside for nonprofits. It is not final legislation. It has not yet passed. And it will take a while, if passed, to build up a fund. So this is not a sustainable way to fund nonprofit organizations.
So each of those organizations need to figure out where they want to be and how they're going to get the
Yes.
assets
Yes.
and the money to move forward.
Another important point, because again, an organization that I founded was on that list. Those organizations that had received grant funding, which was about $16 million worth, had been getting that money for 10 years. Now, 10 years because it was supposed to be 3 years, but then the commission at the time couldn't agree to a process to re-solicit. And then again, they couldn't agree to a process to re-solicit. So the monies were carried forward for 10 years. So that creates its reliance. It's also wonderful because they're providing great service, but it was a false sense of security.
Because it was based on Big Daddy being able to pass out that money, and now they have to do things.
Yeah, I don't think other county governments do what Miami-Dade County has done to support nonprofits to the extent that we have. And I'm in favor of it. You know, my predecessor, not so much. I am in favor of it as long as we have the money. But right now we are facing new budget reality. And right now it is not sustainable.
So each of those organizations have to figure out what they're going to do. I know some people, they change the infrastructure on there so they can afford what they have. Yeah. So anyway, we're trying to help them as best we can.
Great.
And publicize them and try to
And Miami
help them.
Foundation would give Miami Day. They're going to make it a week, not just a day. They're really working. We're working hard with the Miami Foundation and other philanthropy to come up with a plan, and we'll be convening nonprofits to help them as well.
And speaking of plan, you brought up about property taxes.
Yes.
I hear about this move in Tallahassee. First, it was no property taxes for anybody, but it looks like the governor is trying to get, I don't know if it's him over the age of 65, or was it all property taxes? And how might that
there are different
affect?
proposals, and the legislature will have to decide what to put on the ballot. And hopefully they're going to understand that local government is supported through property taxes because we don't have a state income tax. We're one of only a few states without a state income tax. So basically your police department, your sheriff, your parks, your roads, your transit, all kinds of basic services. Oh, your teachers. Okay, it doesn't come to Miami-Dade County, but your teachers, these are all paid for by your property taxes.
Well, if that passes, when is that going to be, this upcoming session?
Well, it would be put on the ballot, whatever the state agrees to put on the ballot, probably the following fall.
Okay.
And then it would take effect maybe for the following year's tax.
I suppose there are going to be campaigns on both sides. Some people fighting it, some people promoting it.
Interestingly, county government cannot lobby citizenry for ballot initiatives. So we can lobby the state legislature or federal government for things that affect county. But if it's the people voting for something, county is not allowed to.
So how do we move from our own selfish, I'd like to save X dollars a year, to this bigger picture, which is they're going to be less pleased, they're going to be less stuff. It's not, you don't get this stuff for free.
Yeah.
So how do we split our heads in that for this bigger picture?
Yeah. Well, everybody is struggling. We're in a time, especially here, the cost of living is so astronomical and has grown so much, especially with housing, which we're addressing very vigorously. And the good news is that housing prices are stabilizing. And I think we get a lot of credit for that because in the county, we've worked hard to increase the supply. That to be said, people want to pay less. So naturally, it's very attractive to say, yep, cut taxes here or there. But we need people to understand what they get from those dollars.
It was sort of like after Hurricane Andrew, everybody called it St. Andrew, and everything was good for a year to 2 years. And then when all the money went away, people went, oops.
Well, that's also true here because we had a very difficult economic picture during the pandemic. People were losing jobs, businesses were closing, people couldn't pay the rent or their mortgage, and we were able to stabilize and were considered the most recovered economy in the country. That to be said, we got a lot of federal money to help us out. Now that money is gone.
I want to thank you for all the free COVID tests.
Yes, that too. Yes.
And you brought up about housing. I understand that this county's made some significant improvements in affordable housing, and that's a
Yes.
legal term, not what's affordable for you in particular.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the number of units the county has built since
Right.
2020.
Yeah, so since I've come in as mayor, where I'm totally committed to housing, which I believe is a human right, decent housing, and it's also our economy. If we can't house our workers, they're going to leave, and we're going to be shortchanged. And in fact, some have left because of the high cost of living. So we've already established almost 6,000 new units and another 12,000 in the pipeline. And we've doubled the amount of money that we're spending. We are fortunate we have a dedicated source of revenue. It's called surtax that comes from a surtax on commercial property transactions. And that money is used to help finance affordable and workforce housing. And by the way, Michael, it's not just low income. We're talking middle income jobs,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We're talking about, of course, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, and the like. But we also did something for the condominiums. So if you own a condo that's older and now you have a life safety matter and you need reserves, we created a special fund up to $50,000, zero interest for 40 years to help you pay for those life safety improvements so you wouldn't lose
wonderful.
your home. And it's wonderful.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're protecting their housing, protecting their safety, and stopping an affordable housing problem.
Right. And risking losing people that we need in our
Yes.
community. Yeah.
So let's talk, and we'll get it out of the way, the waste-to-energy facility that is now no longer a concept. But tell us what the plan is.
The commission did vote to proceed with a long-term strategy, okay, because we've been sending a lot of our trash out of the county to Okeechobee. By the way, they're happy to take it up there because they make money on our garbage, if you will, but it's not a sustainable solution. And so the board did vote to find the land and enter into a contract to build a waste-to-energy facility as part of a larger waste strategy. That to be said, we haven't yet finally determined what that property would be or who the vendor would be. So that final decision has not been made.
And power to the people who made such a stink, no pun intended,
Yeah.
in Doral. They spoke up loudly,
Yes,
and
for sure.
they were pretty persistent and consistent in delivering that message. And from what I recall, some of the other commissioners said, we don't want to go into our area too. So 3 or 4 people signed on to that. Well done, commissioners, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So currently, a lot of the trash goes up. One of the vendors takes it to the middle of the state. Plus, we have the one here.
Yes, we do have landfill here, but it's rapidly filling up. It's really not a sustainable solution. Technically, we do have some additional capacity in some of those, but the commission has not shown a willingness to expand the use of those landfills.
And onto my favorite subject, recycling.
Yes.
There's really not been a lot of conversation recently. I mean, it's there are a lot more things that are cooler to be than people recycling. But we have a big issue because of the tourists that come here.
We do. We have double the rate of garbage of other major municipalities, and tourism is a big part of it. So we hired someone dedicated to renewable, sustainable waste and has been really great in seeking out solutions. We also brought in a consultant to help us develop a zero waste master plan. And we've already moved some contracts for yard waste to be recycled, mulching. We've increased, we're in the process, I think, of a new recycling marketing effort. And by the way, the city of Miami had been trying to stop their recycling
Yes, I
effort.
remember that.
And we said, no, you can't do that because actually the county is responsible for countywide recycling rates per state legislation. And we've done more enforcement around recycling right, more education, and we're going to continue to do that.
And we have a young lady that's on staff in the recycling department, Jean Marie Massa. What a
Yes.
great lady. When she comes down, we have the best time. I'm still trying to figure out what can actually be recycled. Folks, if you need to look it up at miamidade.gov/solid
right.
waste, and you can find out what's
And
recyclable.
actually, there's some interesting innovations. There's a tool that is through AI will scan the garbage and tell you Yes, yes, yes. So stay tuned for that. And look, it also it evolves. So, for example, now you can, and you might not know this, recycle your yogurt containers and even pizza boxes, even a little greasy. No cheese, please, but a little greasy. You could recycle
Your explanation is so
box.
much better than the I like that.
I'm a recycling nut. So
That's good.
I'm totally
And
with you.
I might have mentioned before, my wife and I went and bought a composter. It's like this big.
Yeah.
You put it in there. It'll create 10 pounds of stuff. We put everything but steak bones in there. And I take it and I put it out, in the
and
yard.
your garden flourishes.
In the garden.
Yes.
Do not put it in the grass because it'll grow all sorts of stuff.
You experimented.
I did. My yard guy says, what are you doing? He's put that in the bushes.
So I compost at my house as well. And by the way, you can get a second composting bin for free. So, second garbage, no. So
Yes.
I produce a lot more compost. I'm so sorry. I'm talking recycling. Let me start again. I have 2 recycling bins and 1 garbage bin. And we fill them.
All right. And folks, if you have a problem with your bins, all right, they're broken, just call 311.
Yes.
They can fix it or replace it.
That's
no
right.
charge.
Yes.
And if you need extra ones, you can pay for the service for the year.
But again, a second recycling bin for free.
All right. That means you've got to recycle more. My grandson, who lives on the water in Coral Gables, he's 10. He's out in his kayak. He's seen all the manatees, and he holds up a plastic bag. Grandpa, I found this trash. And that's where the message has to get to these kids.
Yes.
Right. And before they get, wild and crazy.
Yes. The young people really can influence the adults. So
They did
very
me.
important.
They did me. And Frank called around, if something blows out of my car, I go get it now.
Well, you remember Texas had a litter problem, and they came up with a campaign, Don't Mess with Texas.
Oh,
And it really worked.
maybe it's going to be.
We're working on it.
Oh, good. Okay. And since you brought up about the airport, tell us what the plan is for the airport and what's going on now and what's going to be in the next 5 years.
Okay, so this airport is the apple of my eye. Okay, we're really turning things around at the airport. In fact, we just got from JP Powers, which is the accreditation public opinion survey partner, that we are the most improved mega airport in the country. And people are really recognizing what we've done. $9 billion, no small change, invested, about 1.5 already spent, and the rest in the hopper. Of course, you see improvements at the airport. We've already improved the counter area and the whole central area. That looks great. We have a new terminal that's coming online, a new garage that will be done ahead of schedule and under budget in time for the next holiday season. Yeah,
See,
right.
it's possible.
Manna from heaven. And we also have the lightning squad, the lightning team. That was my idea as well, to have people that roam the airport and fix smaller things. Dirty, needs to be repainted, a socket out, whatever it may be, the light. That also helps. And I personally, whenever I go to the airport, I take pictures. I send them, please fix this, fix that.
The boss is speaking.
Yes, I'm watching.
But how many more cars are going to be added in the new parking facility?
Oh, gosh. I have to get you that number, 2,000.
Something, yeah.
Thank you for the
You're welcome.
the hint.
All right. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it has a name, Ibis.
Ibis.
It's the Ibis Garage.
All right. That's a little birdie.
Yeah.
Sort of.
The ibis is a very special bird, of course, mascot, because it's the first to leave before a storm and the first to return.
Is that right?
Yep.
So if you want to know what's going on, look at
the ibis.
Our neighbor used to have a lot of horses. And so before the storms would come, they knew it.
How about that?
And you watch them and go, Susan, there's something going on. So, all right. Seaport is a big deal down here.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about the changes that have happened and what's going to happen.
Well, we're heading to net zero at the port as well. And by the way, our airport is, I'm understanding, the most resilient airport in the country. And we're putting solar on the roof, and we have sustainable fuel capacity now, and many, many things. But at the port, we are still the cruise capital. We've also increased our cargo phenomenally. We're having to add, actually, we had an innovation challenge with the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority, how to better accommodate more cargo because of the demand. The current challenge is to make sure that we have fuel available to
Speaking of fuel.
Yes, fuel for our ships. And we're working on solutions. Stay tuned. We have to. We can't afford to not be able to fuel all of our vessels.
I know there's some big tanks out.
There's some tanks on Fisher. Some people have different ideas. Those tanks have been there for decades, and that's been how we've fueled our port.
So the county's working on a resolution there.
We are very hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about transportation, public transportation, and the mobility for us around Miami-Dade County. Certainly that's in the top 2 or 3 things that people talk about. And I know it's one thing that we like to sort of complain about, but reality is, move to Iowa if you don't want traffic, right?
Well, my predecessor used to say it's a sign of economic growth, but at the same time, it's a great inconvenience, and it's also a great stressor, right, if you have to sit in traffic. So stay tuned, because we're going to be cutting the ribbon in another couple of weeks for the South Dade Metro Express service.
Very nice.
On the Transitway.
What about public transportation to the beach? I forget what they call that.
Yeah, so at various points, the name has changed, but right now it's still under study. We're facing some new challenges. This federal administration is not so pro-transit. So we don't do these major projects without significant federal and state. The state also has cut back on transit and is trying to cut back further. So we're having to really reflect on all of this. And there was headwinds at the beach. The people on the south side of the beach were not so excited about having mass transit come in there, but it is one of our challenging corridors. And we not only have tourists, we have workers, even commuters that live there that would benefit from public transit. I'm hopeful, but right now we do not have any imminent plan.
So we have the brochure that the county gave out in 1984, the opening of Metro Rail.
Yes.
You remember Richard Friedman?
Uh-huh.
He was one of the guys that fought it. He was well-intentioned, I think. So the old Cutler Ridge Mall is being built. There are going to be several thousand units, apartments there, and it's going to be a town center.
Absolutely. It'll be great. And of course, with major mass transit, with the Metro service coming right there. And, we're talking about saving up to 40 minutes each way to get to Dadeland from Deep South Dade. Yes. It's a game changer.
Mayor Otis Wallace, help is on the way. Mayor Glasner, help is on the way.
Right.
Let's talk about the under the old regime, it was MDX, and now it's GMX, run by the state.
Not run by the state.
I'm sorry.
It's got board members appointed by the state, some appointed locally, others, yes.
So there's been this conversation about the Kendall Parkway or West Kendall Parkway. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. What's the latest conversation about that?
Well, GMX does prioritize the Kendall Parkway. There were concerns with the legal battle back and forth that the financing was going to cost more, so the price escalated. So I don't actually know the latest, but it's still part of their work program.
Right. And I remember some of the studies came out, depending on which side you're on, you could find the facts or the ill facts to support your position.
I think it was proven that it wasn't going to be a great time saver. So you know which side I'm on. That to be said, it will also open up a lot of pressure for development out west in areas that are still protected, that there's a reason why we protect those areas.
Okay, next. We have some 100,000 septic tanks, and depending on which figure, 2 to 9,000 of septic tanks that are sort of in trouble. But tell us the latest on that and what we're going to do to protect our waterways.
Well, it's called Connect to Protect. And it's a great, great program. And we have been able to be aggressive in certain areas. So we've identified the lowest lying areas that have septic, and they are compromised already. When we have high water events, storm events, they can overflow. And then the nutrients from those septic systems can go into our waterways and into the bay. And part of the reason why our bay is in real trouble. We have not had one of those major fish kills like we had 4 years ago. That was so, so devastating. But that's because we've increased monitoring. We've reduced the runoff from fertilizers by not allowing fertilizer in the rainy season. So we've done a lot of things to protect the bay, but we need to be really aggressive about these septic systems. And one of the challenges is we cannot use our existing fee structure for water and sewer clients to pay for future clients. So we have to find other mechanisms to help pay for it. And it's expensive.
Well, I'm glad you brought up fertilizer. Let's talk about the urban boundary development line. The developers keep trying to move it.
Yes.
The homeowners go, no, we don't want that. And it's always that struggle. So how do you protect the rights of the people that own the land there, whether they are a potential developer or the guy that wants to continue living there? How do we balance that?
So when people purchase land outside the urban development boundary, they know there's an urban development boundary. The property is worth what it's worth for agriculture or open space. Obviously, as we grow, then there are changes made. There's an area called the urban expansion areas that are there if we have a need for more single-family homes. That's a big driver. Right now, because of our zoning changes along the transit corridors and the like, we have supply, we have space available for the demand inside the urban development boundary. So developers might find it cheaper or easier, or people might want to have more space, more land. But truthfully, under our current guidance, we shouldn't have to move the urban development boundary. That doesn't mean that it'll always be that way. So these urban expansion areas exist, and on a case-by-case basis, the commission is sometimes voting to move the line. And I think they don't understand, many of them, why we have an urban development boundary. It's not to punish landowners. It's to protect our water supply, our natural environment, a buffer for the Everglades. These are real environmental and safety issues. And so these will all be revisited. I've just declared another what's called EAR process. So we've convened a group of people starting in October to think again about what changes might be needed at this time.
So let's talk about the live work plan that the, what do they call it, from the state, where they said, we're going to tell the county what they can do.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what they...
SB 180.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
So how does that impact us here in Miami-Dade County?
Yes. It has really restricted us. For example, starting when I was commissioner many years ago, I started the process on what's called the impervious ordinance, which included you can't build in a way that will put water on your neighbor's property, because we have a problem with flooding and drainage, and you shouldn't rain on your neighbor, basically, flood your neighbor. So there's a concern that even this law that came after we passed our impervious ordinance prevents us from implementing it because it's a restriction on developers. So there are reasons why we have restrictions. We locally know what the land use constraints are. And so there is a lawsuit that has been filed by around the state. We do have a position in the county not to preempt us. This is preempting us by the state. And we are going to be lobbying this year to roll back some of those restrictions.
And it's almost like the state puts it in, it goes into effect for about 6 months or a year, and then the counties and the cities are being impacted by that as well.
Well, Live Local, which was another thing that was a preemption by the state, that by rights, people could do zoning if it to a higher density, if it included a certain percentage of affordable and workforce. They haven't really rolled that back. Certain minor changes were made, and projects are moving forward under Live Local. I don't think with disastrous effect here locally, but if you're a single family home next to a large building, you might feel very put upon, right? That wasn't what you planned for when you purchased or built your home. So I don't know what the legislature will do, but this has been a pretty uniform protest that it was overreach. So we're hopeful that there will be a modification.
Okay. Let's talk about our four-legged friends over at the at the Animal Service Department. Tell us the improvements that have been made and some things that are about to happen.
Yeah. Well, we're all animal fans here. And I'll tell you what, we have a lot of animal advocates in our community. We hear from people not just here, but around the country and sometimes the world about our pets. So we built a new shelter. When I was a commissioner, we opened it in Doral. It's state of the art. And yet, especially pandemic, led to more pet abandonment. And so we've had to take back the closed shelter, the Medley shelter. We had to reopen it as an overflow. It is open air. It's not air conditioned. Of course, people are concerned about that. No animal has died from the heat, to be very clear, because sometimes people pass that rumor. It does have major fans and cooling sprays and things. And unfortunately, those are the animals that we have to take care of. And the adoption rate is not what it needs to be. So we're very fortunate. There was a land deal made. The Medley shelter has now been purchased by a private developer, in return for which he's purchased a property in South Dade that we are converting to a second full-fledged animal shelter. And it will be state-of-the-art. We're very excited about that. And we're also doing everything we possibly can to get those pets into foster homes, adoption. So, everybody...
And if people want to donate time or stuff or money, they can go to Miami-Dade.gov/animal services.
Yes, and we also have an oversight board now that makes recommendations, and we have a lot of influencers, social media influencers, who've been very helpful in getting the word out. Yeah.
So I understand at the end of the month, the Animal Service is having an open house in one of the parks. It can have over 100 animals. People can go out there and they can find their pet. All right. And if they don't find one there, they're going to be able to find one at the facility. I understand that if you've lost your pet and you send to the county a picture of them, they have this new AI software that will scan all the pictures of all the doggies and cats they have and say, I think we have.
Kidding. I didn't even know that. That's great. And of course, if your animal is chipped, then we can more readily identify.
The county can do that for them. Is there a charge for that? Do you happen to know?
We have events where we make it zero charge. How's that?
I live in horse country, and frequently the dogs that are out, and if people, and we've called, said here's the dog, and if people have them chipped when they escape, like July 4th holidays, all right, Christmas, New Year's, the fireworks, and it scares the dogs, all right?
Yeah.
And I understand there are almost 600 dogs up there right now. It's a lot of dogs, all right?
Yes.
And trying to keeping that managed and keeping the animals healthy.
Yes, of course. If they're in close proximity and if there's an illness, it's hard to prevent it from spreading. But we do a good job, and we are, a no-kill shelter.
Yes.
And unfortunately, dogs come in sometimes with injuries that cannot be repaired or illnesses that cannot be adequately treated, and so sometimes we do have to euthanize pets for their own well-being.
The county had Animal Services had a dachshund with no legs. They gave it a wheelchair. I saw it running around. All right, it's like incredible. And so it really is an effort by the county to save those kind of animals that
wherever we can, we will.
And if that was a private guy, probably wouldn't have spent it because it's a bunch of money.
Well, and we do have people that help us with that. So we appreciate that. It's very open. The population and the status of the animals is all available publicly.
So years ago, when this big dog comes over to my house, sits at the front door, okay, give him some water, give him some food, all right? Doesn't go away. I walk down the street. He chases me, all right? Comes back. And I go, what am I going to do? I'm trying to do something with this dog. So I said, I'm going to go for a walk. So this time I went the other direction. He lived next door.
Oh, my goodness. That is exactly why the Animal Services Department recommends that you leave a dog in the neighborhood. Perfect example. And especially with the chips, we could scan the chip and then find out where the dog lives.
A friend of ours lives in Coconut Grove. Some older guy, Bahamian guy, been there forever. His dog ran away. So the guy that works there got a picture of it, made some copies, and started putting them around. They found the dog 6 weeks later. It was at the Coconut Grove Playhouse. And the guy lives a block away. And the poor dog was running around trying to make his way home. So let's talk a little bit about how you consolidated some of the departments. Specifically, let's talk about Strive 305, which is now part of another organization. Yeah. But why don't you try to define what Strive is about, and then we'll talk about the future of it.
Yeah. So Strive 305 is a program that I brought to the county. I had run a similar program as county commissioner in District 8, which, by the way, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins has continued.
And what was the name?
Accelerate South Dade.
Yes.
Yes. And so I brought it to the county to make it county-wide. And it developed a huge following. And we linked it to RISE loan funds at the Dade Federal Credit Union, which is a very successful program brought on by Commissioner Higgins. It's a revolving loan fund, and I don't remember, 10,000 businesses, something very large number of businesses have benefited from it. And also coaching, classes, multi-language, a hub where you can get ready access to all the programming and also linkages to permitting, for example. So it's been a huge success, but especially since Manny Sid took over the reins. He, of course, was my opponent in the last mayor's race. He's a strong small business advocate, and he's a small business owner himself with a restaurant called the Mayor's Cafe in
Miami Lakes.
Miami Lakes, right. And so he and his partner Tico Casamayor, right?
Yes.
They are quite the duo. And you here at Community Newspapers have been a huge anchor for us in spreading the word. So we've got, 75% of the small businesses already somehow been touched. And wherever you go, especially through the ambassadors program, these are people in the community who are small business owners themselves, and they're helping to spread the word that we're here to
So tell us about the future, some coordination may be done.
Yes. So, we're an incubator. I personally like to incubate things. And so we incubated this, and now in partnership with the Beacon Council, which is the economic development arm for our county, has agreed to take the lead. So it's still a partnership with Miami-Dade County, but they are going to be helping us to move it forward and expand the impact countywide.
So remember, we started off this conversation about years ago when, you have something right there, where you showed up at one of our events and there were 40 people there and 3 were women. I said, I'm going to do better. Well, I'm so pleased because we film the Strive 305 shows here, talk shows here, that the week before last, one show was in Portuguese, one was in Creole, one was in Spanish, and one was in English. The sense of fulfillment that Grant and I have to be able to provide that service to the people, tracing all the way back to that day when you said, there are only 3 women here. And I said, I know. I know, but I'm going to do better. Right. And we have been able to do it. I want to thank the county for that opportunity.
Well, small businesses are the backbone. You yourself were once a small business. I'm not sure you qualify anymore, Michael, but totally. It's wonderful, the partnerships. That's what really makes our county so great.
Mayor, thank you so much for being here.
I want to thank you.
And you are my mayor.
Well, I want to say thank you for bringing me in. And of course, we had a budget victory. We balanced the budget 3 times.
Yes.
And the final budget was truly a winner, again, with some short-term fixes, if you will. And I want to say thank you to the residents of Miami-Dade County who trust us, who work with us, who know how hard we work. And we're here for you. Thank you so much, Mike.
And we're going to look at that camera right over there. And folks, thank you for joining us at number 1. And number 2, Grant and I now have decided that we're going to promote the new Disney rule, which is when you hug someone, don't stop until they stop. Have a great day. Thank you.